Ogamba otya?
Ndi bulungi ng'eddoboozi liri wansi.
Mwana musajja gwe you inspire me. Wazuwa okusedda oli mu kuyiriba tolinga ffe nange nakikedde mudda
ate nga leero nzize naleeti nze ntera kuteekako ssaawa 11.
Gundi ntera ogiraba ng'ogisharinga bayira ate awo nze mba naakagwawo kanza okukanga emu awo bigenda bitya
bino ebintu sisobola byebakiramu.
muganda wange okitegeera otuula awo n'olabira ddala nga you still have a long way to go. Toseka mukadde wange.
What do you mean a long way to go? Ng'olabira ddala obudde bwakuleka dda.
Ng'olayika tokyawulira buutirayika tezama amampa ati gakyankuba gwe noyinza okubogamba kalekale awa ng'olayika obukuttekutteko boosi obudde bwaleka nze ne bukunakuna ate olaba
toyogera kintu ekyo
nedda honest omanyi lwaki ngambye oba ngamba oba nakolamu ensobi okuleka Uganda Civil Aviation Authority okujja mu America bunsome buto biki nfune wano omulimu biki ndabanga it's like dream eri ewala ngamba bannange kubanga
bwentunula tekirimba
naye bwentunulamu neŋŋamba naye oba singa kati bankuza singa kati ndi senior engineer va ku biri ebya junior engineer we nayingiranga nakamala kyambogo first class yange kati obeera onookuba nogaa naye ebintu ng'ebya America tebigenda byonna noobitunulamu noolaba gye bali abaana e Uganda abakoze amagya
Maria kansubire wasuze bulungi eno live ngikoledde mweba Maria abagamba live okeera kumakya n'oteekako live ku ssaawa kati nzize ssaawa zino zigenda wera 6 kati va mu LOL naye gwe Mr. Awesome ekyo tokyogera because at the end of the day man oba tomanya naye era omukisa guba gukyaliwo.
Paradise balowooza okanga ebintu tebitambula obudde tebugenda tebiggwa anyway but anyway I'm someone who knew God way before anything kati ngumirako ekyo kya Mukama ningamba I'm a very prayerful person even this shall come to pass and
kabwavaako
twaleeri twaleeri oli mukutiisa oli kutiisa bana ku equipment zonna zolina kyogamba osobola ovaako I highly doubt
obuzibu wa equipment ennyingi oluvannyuma otuuka naawe n'ogamba oba nteekemu kaliwa
kyogamba bagenda zidraininga gundi bagenda gidraininga power bank yo very fast.
It doesn't even matter. I have options. Maria, how are you?
Wasuze bulungi. Wamaze ne bukeera.
Iranga bulijjo Mukama abukeeza.
Hello, Paradise. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Trey. Guys, I have to give you a disclaimer. I am testing out streaming on YouTube because moving forward, emiramu ajange bwenjireeta, I want to be able to do TikTok and YouTube at the same time. So this live is on YouTube as we speak. So
wow, that's nice.
But I thought that came here right? Okay. Paradise, I'm looking for a video editor. I think you may be a person. I need a promo video.
What kind of work do you do?
I do digital marketing.
Okay, no ngamba like editor oyagala editing it.
Okay, I need a promo video for my agency.
We can help with that. We can help with that, Trevor. You want to send me a DM?
I'll send you a DM.
Oh, okay. Also, if I have my numbers on my bio as well. Hi, Angel Joseph.
Let me check them out. I think I'll send you an email.
DM me there. And we'll be able to work
if you agree.
We always agree. We will agree, don't worry. Colleague. All right, so live ya mulamwa. Live ya mulamwa, but like I said, I gave you guys the disclaimer. This live is streaming. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's streaming on YouTube. So, what tuwe tugenda okukolanga mu Uganda katanti tutegekera 2026 mukategedde 2026
Chigenda wera mu 2026.
It's our year of winning, man. High Sweet Cakes.
Okay.
It's our year of winning. So tuba tulina okwongeramu
okay, gwe mwaka gwe tukola $1 million yaffe, right?
Tugenda gikola ate olowooza tukyali ku 1 million zikendeera buli lunaku.
Amina.
Zikende.
Maria, nkulamusizza mukama waffe
meaning if we go astray, our children will see. Yes, man.
Mr. Awesome.
Kati wano tugenda okwawulira bagamba okwawulira eki embwa kuti.
Mr. Awesome. To streaming a live ku YouTube olina okujja mu video bulungi ne wetereza.
Maaso gabadde gamyuse nasomye nnyo. Nawe ndi.
Kambateekeyo. Trevor naye ajjidde adde.
Mwende.
Trevor oli mufumbo.
Agambye atya?
Okay. Onoonya. Teweebwala.
Noonya.
Onoonya.
Oli mu kifo kituufu tulina akili love. Akili. Soko mugambe kwa akili.
That's okay. Kino tekina kye kitegeeza
Kino gwe mulama gwa leero.
Ogwa akili.
Okuba gwa love babe mumbulire enve wano.
Maria. Hi Maria. Tereda. Nsumululo osuna. Relax.
Kabadde ka disclaimer mama tula wenyweze.
Bambi omulamu. You know we don't do that. We don't do mulamu ejo.
Tereda, nespa kumuje mu video.
Naye nga bambi tugenda I'm resetting my whole life thing. That's why mwezi okwa mumbadde temundaba nga nzija live. Like I went live every day naye kumakya. So I'm going to shift my hours, but it's going to be a bit more structured. Meaningful conversations. Tuina muna wagendo tuteekamu akasente. So we are going to be doing really well. We are going to refresh this whole thing at our live.
Mugabo tuteekamu akasente naffe abajje ba participants tufuniramu sente.
Absolutely. Yes. Go odoloza nze ndyanze kambu mumpendye then mwale munonde namwe muli
atulira wamu nakayimba kazawe agali awamu gegal manyama, right?
Wow.
But mulamwa naye Sweet Cake soko tubuuzeeko nga sinatandika miramwa.
Hi everyone.
Hi Sweet Cakes.
Hi Sweet Cakes, how are you?
Awesome, olina okunyimbiramu muganda wange kubanga emyaka gyo gikutte wansire waggulu.
Happy birthday to you.
Encha.
Okay, badde manyi okyagadde leero. Anti ze sikirwisa manyi yancha naye oyinza okuba oyagala leero so.
Sweet Cakes, your birthday is tomorrow?
Yancha ne birthday yagala kuntulamu nagitidde dda.
Sine.
Birthday yo.
Abakyala mweraliikirira ebintu eby'amaanyi. Toyaayo muntu.
It's not about celebrating, but people are going to start asking stupid things.
Zara D. Really bad questions.
Mbadde simanyi ebyo byebiri stupid. Abaana b'ennaku zino. Abaana abato. Abatunula n'oseka.
Kati ebyo bibeera biri stupid kati njagala bye by'amagezi.
Weebale nnyo kubanga omuntu wenkugamba tugamba ffe abalina families.
Kubanga emiggo tetugenda kugisubula.
Tubagamba Sweet Cake gwe muntu badde atandika ekintu kino abawala banna abali kuno abalala batagala ne balabirako gwe, you know. So I urge ofuna omuntu setulinge ng'obudde bukyali ojja sanyuka ojja kiraba nga kikuyamba maaso.
ate kati omusajja mujjewa abasajja boofuna baba balimba abasajja balimba ate bakuba n'okkuba ennaku zino ndeka
mulindeko live badde ino omulamwa
temugenda
you guys ate katorea nawe kakkana Torea totiisa abantu but how are you Torea?
I'm fine, how are you? Paradise.
Okay. Yeah, so guys ekyo tekina kyekikyusa. It's just that honestly for the good of everybody, I think, I mean, but anyways, fame always tuba n'omulamwa, we don't really like talk nonsense, so like it's not gonna make any difference. So but today I just figured I'd try it out.
For real, Sweet Cakes is tomorrow your birthday.
Manje mbadde ngendo
sabera ne birthday buli mwezi
weekend.
Nimba
It's 7:30 in Kampala.
Mr. Awesome, how are you? Mbadde nkuliraana weeyogeza nga atalina ddala.
I'm okay. How are you, Nyabo? Long time.
Hi Maria. Leero toli mu 3D.
Aninze. Kikyogezako okuyisaawo kusaawe. N'akazuuka ne kacayi tekanaakuntuula mu bulungi.
Okay.
Nze ndi kuugi.
So
Cool.
you guys, njagala wulira what you guys think about the possibility of okulekeraawo temporarily banning third world countries from immigration.
Nga byabwange ebyo.
So the idea is to process abaliwo already mu nsi. Immigration basooke bagiyimirize tusooke tudiringe n'abali mu nsi. What do you guys think about that? Kapera zivuddeko.
Maria kanabe mikono gyo
kale eyo tuveeyo.
Mikono gyo toyina gundi
kale eyo tuveeyo
kikopo kya brown.
I can go first, Oba. I can go first.
Hi, OJ. You guys, I'm trying to get us to have the conversation. Nga tedokerawo okutya. Naye gundi Trevor engeri jadduse.
Trevor, no, akomawo.
OJ jangu.
Akomawo.
OJ, that's the question cheche ekibuuzo ekiriwo ku meeza. Because the potential policy eri ku stopping the part I don't understand why countries.
For me, I'm not in US.
Hey, you're not in the US.
So the topic doesn't touch me.
Kampala ndi mu kifo kikyamu ddala kanviireko ddala kuba
zigenda kujja mubeere bakakkamu.
Okay, anyways, like where I am also, we are also experiencing some. I'm seeing that coming where I am.
Mr. Awesome,
ndowooza
ki kwekyo?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that beautiful question.
And ogenda gamba and the house at large.
And the house at large, yeah. So anyway, to me, I will look at both sides. In that time, one, it's a disservice to the countries where these immigrants or immigrants jebava. When they put a halt onto the whole program, they are doing a disservice. Consenso. In which way? Number one, most of the people who go abroad to the so-called first world countries, right? People make a living, and after making a living, they kind of channel back resources back home. So if you go to a third world country's budget, there is always an amount. They say that this is money that we've gotten, and it is actually on the budget, or it is reflected in the economy in so many various ways. Nenge sente zo ziva mu bantu abali mu so-called diaspora. I'm telling you, the so-called people in diaspora, the amount of money they channel back home, like I know people personally. I don't know so many people, but from that small circle, from the perspective I see things in, the few people that I know and the amount of money they send, let me say on a monthly basis back home, is actually some good amount of money. So if we kind of stipulate that we put that to a bigger, put that into a bigger microscope, you'll find out that stopping this kind of immigration, you're doing a disservice to these countries in either revenues and taxes as well. Because when we send that money back home, there are taxes at work. In other words, these the forums that we use to send this money, they charge us in taxes and whatever. There is revenue generated either sides. Sente jezigena neno sente wa jeziva. Because let me give you an example. If you're gonna use, let me say, Western Union. If you're going to use like things like Western Union, MoneyGram, any other platform is charging abantu, there is a small portion of money they retain, right? So if you have over like 2 million people in the diaspora and each person is sending, even if it is $1, sending $1 back home, right? Oja kwesanganga, you're doing a disservice. There is, okay. Number two, you're going to mess up livelihoods ez'abantu abamu. Mulimu abantu abamu nga balina abantu baabwe bweru nga badependinga ku ekyo. Then ekirala houtinga ebintu ebyo. Then there is also a drop in tourism. Kubanga si buli muntu ajja mu zino ensi kutuula wano kwesiba wano. Mulimu people who specifically really made a living in third world countries nga bajja mu zino ensi for tourism purposes. So still revenue generated through tourism, again a declining, because remember whenever there is a visa process issuance, the country offering or issuing you a visa is gaining, you pay. Sometimes you don't even get the visa, but you pay, right? So sagala kubanga nzategere nnyo kweno forum nenze nkitunulidemu kati bwe tukitunulira ate ku side y'abana abagaana, they are also going to lose out on a few things. For example, cheap or cheap workforce. Abantu bana abajja, people who come into these countries always tutandikira mirimu abantu gye batagala kola, right? And we provide cheap labor in that kind of farms. Healthcare, like assisted living, whatever, anything that abantu abamu mwene ensi bye batettanira nnyo kola. So there will be a gap. Because abakaddiwa bo bakyeyongera, but ate aba caregivers bakyetaagisibwa. Kugamba in all so many aspects of life, it's a lose-lose to me. I will beg to end my submission here for this time.
Okay. Thank you so much for your submission. So this is, let me just get up. So the idea, this is Council May. This is 9 hours ago, November 22nd. The Trump administration has halted all asylum decisions following the shooting of 2 National Guard soldiers in Washington, D.C. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which is USCIS director, has said what they want to do. But here's my view. Chebagala Okola, the only ones in video. Okay, let's do this. Chebagala, hold on. Why can't I put this in 2 boxes? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, anyways, in the Chendo Woza, because which is actually interesting, Tine Uganda, the Somalia, Ethiopia, whatever countries ezo, nazo Uganda ya passing the taker, nazo bagala lekera okuyingiza abantu. So it's kind of like, I feel like even in Europe, I feel like zone ensi zitanso kuchuka to not want more immigrants in the country. do you think Mumulo was I guess maybe the overall question is immigration getting out of hand? Like have systems all over the country been abused? Are people really seeking for asylum for the reasons asylum was intended for? Kumanga, asylum was supposed to be like, this is a life or death kind of thing. Kumanga kati if Uganda, our country, naye eri mukugamba, you know what guys? Tekyali lutalo wamwe. Like you need to go back home. So but I mean they're not kicking out anybody that's already in the country. Naye nabo tebakyakiriza. Kati Mr. Awesome, would you give the same like someone from Ethiopia ayagala okuyingira mu Uganda, would you give those same points in Uganda?
All right,
for the US?
No, I can still kuchoyogedde ina point joyogedde nga bwe nakunyonyodde nenkugamba nti not everyone that moves to these countries moves for all reasons. Truth be told, in all claims of, for example, that very sensitive topic of asylum, not everyone that puts in their claims, I've said everything to an extent it is a life or death situation. But however, there are also things like future endeavors, like futuristic decisions abantu ze batunuulira. Kikyengezako gamba. Yeah, futuristic decisions ng'omuntu wagamba nti no, I'm a very strong pillar in my community, ate akalulu kajja. Okitegeera oba bankuttekutteko emirundi nga mingi. They are people who are genuinely in need of this. Era nga bw'oba gyeko ebintu ebyo obuddukiro abantu bagenda kufa. It will affect people for sure. Naye nga bw'okozemu ka disclaimer n'obuuza nti is the immigration really being used like for the wrong reasons? I'll completely say 100% there are some people who use it for all the wrong reasons. And I wouldn't blame them. Era ndikusaidia because at the end of the day katika kwa example yaba Somalia, aba Ethiopia, abali e Somalia nga beekubira essimu babanyonyola Uganda bwewooma nga bwe baatuuka baagula n'ettaka. Toyina ng'eki gy'ogenda kugamba bali abaagala okujja nabo olwa because stability in resiliency is not guaranteed. Anytime these countries are always on the verge of war. So what I'm trying to say, people predict and baga nti wadde pieces nti onaze n'agamba okulwana kuweddewo biki but ideally zinensi ezirina issues ezo political instabilities, it is bound to repeat itself over and over again okujjako nga batemye emiwendo emituufu oba nga banogedde ebintu bino eddagala, which is not common for African states. Olutalo katijukira ensi ze tubadde twegomba nga Nigeria gy'olaba nti neeteredde ogenda olaba abayeekera ba springing over from nowhere. Okitege? Ate ng'ensi ebadde etandise prospering, one of the countries that have the highest levels of GDP ku Africa kuno olwa oil na biki bye balina ne resources eziri surround. Wandibadde ogamba nti economy eriki era ojja kwesanga mu Nigeria agamba nze nyina ofuna asylum wa Ghana oba wa cause ewaffe tewali safe. Political instability just like buli kaseera ebintu biri shaky. So bw'ogamba nti Somalia Omusudani alekerawo okujja era at least awugewo ajja kukkirira Kenya at least awuge.
Mr. Awesome, yogerako in the interest of Uganda.
In the interest of Uganda kyerikola nyinza ogiwagira in one or the other one. First and foremost, twasomanga point bunene mbuno putting pressure on land biki ojukirawo point waga mbuno kati resources za Uganda zilingana ziri constrained. Why? Uganda is one of the countries that has the highest population of youths, right? Youth make up majority of the population. However, n'Abasudani bemuyingiza n'Abasomalia siraba bajjajja bajja Abasomalia bajja nabo bavubuka. Kikyengezako okwogera. You already have a high percentage of youth unemployed and engaged in so many things. They don't feel, they don't feel considered. They don't feel like taken care of. They feel like the government has failed them. You're opening your doors for more people to come in that kind of situation. It's like tata wo kubanga agambye mmere wakati mala kyokka ate ng'ayita ba sweet cake bajje ku lujjuliro. Ideally kuba n'abaana nga gwe kennyini okyalemereddwa okuliisa ababo ate ogamba n'aba awesome bajje baliire wano eno si kibi okuba n'omutima emmeeme gabaagaba neegejjanga naye emmeeme gabaagaba byogaba tebiriyo. First and foremost also Uganda ekikoze kubanga reason yemu eri ku nawulidde nti no the funders abantu abadde bayisaka budget yako zi IMF programs zi UNHCR zitandise oku webagabiranga 10 bagabaawo 2 zitandise okuba ng'eziseebengerera the funding of these refugee programs zitandise okujjamu emikono kati ate kisooka mwagenda ne mugaana ebisiike openly ate nga ojja kwesanga nga ezimu programs zino eno zaali ku bindaazi ebyo. So at the end of the day bali abantu bagamba bano tebakyafurtheringa agenda zaffe oba we are not politically aligned anymore katujjemu omuliro kati bajja kukulekera abaana a lot of mouths to feed naye nga kiteeke tekyajjanga bwe yali ejja. I beg to stop that.
Okay, so I hear your submission, and I think I agree a lot with it, because obviously, like Uganda, we have problems. And so even when I found out, Uganda is one of like Africa, a single taking in refugees. I'm like, bro, Nafika nyini.
20 minute day.
And the thing is, the funding is there. That's the part that actually blows my mind. And it's almost like Uganda, they'll get more resources if they come in as refugees in their own countries, which you can also see that here in the US. Until sometimes abantu abajja mu US as refugees, they get better support. Okusinga ate homeless gobakolachi gobazalira mu America. So if homeless gobazalira mu America, if they can get into the refugee program, they will get better housing, they will get better support in their own country.
Look at it this way. An average Indian lives a better life than the average Ugandan. Like if you're an average Ugandan, the Indian who came, because most of these Indians that come, and I'm not against Indians, so those guys who are going public in this life, they say like, what are you saying? You understand? Well, you find that I've worked in a setting of Indians, and like in the hierarchy, they earn more salary. Like Indian 1 million.
When you say Indians, what exactly do you mean? Like
this guy, most of these Indians that we have, there are very few who came as investors per se. Like most of them came through as people who don't have documents and stuff. That's why some people are telling you the only documents we have are for Uganda. For us, we are Ugandans. We have never gone to India. Why? Because the guys who came, who brought them here, also came without papers. Bajam container.
Their fathers were
they came here. Yes, because if they were, then like let me give an example. If you live here, you get what I'm saying? If you live here in Uganda and you go to America in the right way, there's always a place where you always get your children to be like you guys. We are Ugandans. You understand? There's always a link that whilst we are here, but when you go without papers, you know when you leave that, you know what? There's no chance that I'm going to go back and settle. There's like no chance. There are people who have made up. Most people actually, when you go, you know that now this is the life. So what happens is that after you, all this other generation that comes from you is going to be American. Like there's no trace anymore. These guys, even if you tell them go back today, don't even know what Uganda is. But the Indians who come in the right way eventually go back to their home. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So most of the ones that we have, even as Uganda, we are saying, oh, our country is failing. But so what America is also realizing, and the UK and all these guys, Europe, why they are doing, for us, why we're not complaining is because we can have a few reasons, right? But what these guys are realizing, that these guys can actually take away even your government from you with time. You come to a point whereby we can no longer say, now this is American. Like, it's like, let me give another hard example. You know, the people who are saying, get these Rwandis out of here, out of Uganda. They don't understand what they're saying. Why? For one thing, the guy, you're dating someone who you have married as your wife. The mother, one of their parents, has Rwandese origin, right? Now, here in Uganda, you find that it's a very common case that the father is Rwandese, mother is Muganda. Mother is Rwandese, father is Muganda, right? And now you wake up and say, we're going to get out. Your wife will betray you first, or your husband in that house that you're sleeping with will betray you first. Because when you talk about killing these people, you're talking about killing his own relatives, the relatives of your mother, of your wife that you're carrying, or even your mother. Imagine you're here planning and saying, these guys, you're tired of them. And then your friend has a wife who is a Muganda but with Rwandese origin. The father was a Muganda, the mother is Rwandese. You think this lady you're harboring in your life doesn't really know that this is this. So the day we decided to intermarry, we agreed that now we have decided to coexist. You cannot say no coexisting and then you agree to intermarry. The day we intermarried, we actually agreed. It's like, that's why you see the Arabic countries.
Harold, question for you. So what's the difference between a Rwandese person that was born in Uganda, so Rwandese born in Uganda, and the Indian that was born in Uganda? What difference does it make?
They're all the same.
Okay. So is your what's your view on, like, okay, so
my point is eventually what happens, my point is here. Now the only advantage is, the only difference, okay, the small difference I would say is like these Rwandese, because we are all African, it's like, we can live together. But I think also the complaint that is coming with these Somalis is, we can marry from your wives, you can't marry from our wives, right? And so it also causes conflict. Same with Indians. We can marry from you, you can't marry from us.
You're going a little too fast. So, what's the conflict?
Kale, the conflict everyone. Let me get to Uganda. Kakati o Munyarwanda asobola coexistinga no muna Uganda, because yo muna Uganda asobola okuwasa Omunyarwanda oba Omunyarwanda asobola okufumbirwa Omuna Uganda. Okiraba naye Omuyindi n'Omusomalia lwaki abantu balina n'obuzibu, bo bano batuuka bajja kaffe tusobola okuwasa Omusomalia asobola okuwasa Omuna Uganda, naye ku munayuganda osobola kuwasa Musomali. Oba okitegedde? Now ne wabeerawo conflict nti mumuzze wano ewaffe mwagala tuba recognize, because kati ye issue bano Abayindi gye baleeta, because bw'oyogera ku otandika obbabuuza nti mugamba mwagala obutuuze mubire bannayuganda, naye ate mugamba temwagala bannayuganda bawase bakazi bammwe. So lwaki mwagala kubeera mu ggwanga lye mugamba nti mulyagala ddala okufiirawo, naye nga batuuka ogamba nti kale let's intermarry mubeere bannayuganda ddala temwagala. Okitegeera kiŋŋamba? So it's that kind of thing. Omuntu eyajjanga refugee, amateeka gaatandise okuleeta yayagala eddembe okusinga munnayuganda. Oba okitegeera? It's like bw'ogamba omuntu aliko obulemu, webaka tofunyiza kikone waliwo omuntu ali nga mulema, gwe bw'ojja n'oleeta point n'ogamba nti for example nti naye obanga eri valid, but because oli mulema bw'ajja n'agamba banange ffe batusosola ndoozi owulira ebyo byayogera, there is a way gye bafunamu soft spot. Now eyo soft spot netandika okuleeta ono omuntu awatali merit nemuteeka waggulu nga si ku merit nti ekintu kyakoze bwe kibadde kirina okuba, but out of emotion and sympathy. Oba okitegeera kiŋŋamba? So I think where people are getting problems nti refugee gwe ogenza otuusa America naye bakwatako n'okaaba nnyo bano n'ogamba but now so gwe omuntu azze wano Uganda webakwatako n'olekaana nnyo naye nga waliwo bannayuganda abali wano ababonaabona okusinga te gwe bw'okola ki bw'oyogera. So I think for me the whole
is your point is so the solution when wakubuza mu comment, so is the solution is to intermarry ekyo kyogamba nti kati just
no the solution eri nti I think eggwanga we ligenda lituuka ligamba nti okay fe okusigaza eggwanga lyaffe ne tusigaza values zaffe tusooke tulekeraawo okwongeramu abantu abalala, tusooke tucontaininge kino ekiriwo. I think that's why people are saying we should reduce abantu abagamba nti tujja ku asylum, tujja ku kino, tusooke tukendeeze tusevinge culture yaffe nga tennagenda. Oba okitegeera kyetegeeza? Because slowly by slowly otuuka akaseera ng'ogenza ova ku culture. kubanga ngenda kuwanga ekyokulabirako that now
the equivalent would be being a white supremacist. Let's save our culture first, right? And then
yes, ati kakati gwe kyoyita supremacist olina
yagezaako submission ye oje naye awo wagenda muna ate genda maaso sooka omalirize.
So for me I think abantu bagezaako okwogera lwakuba nti buli wokyogera kyeki kyenkugambye kandi gye bakuzannya nti ate kati gwe olabika oidha oli musosoze oletawo embeera okitegeera but omuntu buli waleeta point eyo bagikola sensitive. Ngenda kuwanga example and these are like bwetuka olanga tuwa ku debate za rape woleeta rape nogamba omuntu wajja nagamba nze bankute tugeze olina tandika okubuuza ebibuuzo
kya Luganda
kale omuntu bwajja naga nti bankutte notandika okubuuza ebibuuzo ebiri serious bwalema obiddamu ebiseera ebisinga bagamba nawe bajja kukwata nawe muwala we bajja mukwata n'omugamba nedda tukubuuzizza ekibuuzo damu. You see what I'm saying? Kati nosanga kiki nkwame nti omunnayuganda bwagamba nti naye bano abayindi tubadde tugamba lwaki mwe mwavaawa like bwagezaako okubuuza ebintu bye bakuddamu okubuuzabuuza obujuki ekyo kati nga kirabagamba white supremacist nti naye ono omusajja alina point gy'aleeta yo mugitegedde because jukira buli webazaawo kaadi ng'eyo ebuuza ebibuuzo ebyandiddwamu bibuliraawo because gwejukira buli wojjayo omutwe nga bakugamba gwekitegeeza owagira abakwata nga bakubanga naawe abadde ayogerayogera ng'osirika because jukira webatandika ezo kaadi tosobola kwongerako ne bw'obaani. So I think the world is just not ready for serious debates. That's my submission.
Debate kama wange wetuli era tuli ready for debate era tugenda gihavinga
oyinza okusalamu omuntu
oyimidde ku kigambo kyo imira ku kigambo kyo. Guys, tap the screen tweyongereyo maaso, tap the screen, share the live. Oje.
Thanks Paradise. Akati nsanze ngo oyina article gy'osoma naye ate nga njiwuliddeko like the last line. So because I wanted to submit on immigration naye ate siwulidde so simanyi if it's possible n'otuddiramu naye just on that small thing Herod kabadde agamba. I think as Africans or even people from third world countries tulina standard gye tuholdingako abantu abali wano abali mu developed countries, and maybe it's fair kubanga they are the ones who disorganized the world order in the beginning, right? But we hold them at a different standard than we hold ourselves on so many issues. For example, like even racism, and I'm not supporting the other side, but I'm saying nga bw'okanyuga ejjinja eri naawe weekume mu mutima ojjasanga omuntu the same person yagamba nti someone made a racist comment nga te omuntu omu bwe tuddeeka ajja okugamba abanyarwanda bagize ensi yaffe baddeyo oba abawestana bonoonye ensi yaffe buli omu adde ewaabwe okitegeera. Those are double standards. Kati for example nga Herod kyabadde agamba sagala bakuyita kukwatamu oba kuyingiramu. I don't remember the phrase. I don't really want to base the discussion on what he was mentioning, but just akantu like kanyingidde mu mutima n'engamba wow bw'oyingiza omuntu mu nsi yo ate tekikukako kumudecidingira who they should marry. Okitegeera. It should be fair nti bw'oba omuyingiza mu nsi yo they are a human being like you, they have the same rights as you. If ye culturally tayagala ku intermarryinga, that should be okay. Kati ekyo ne kitegeeza nti bw'oba tonnatuuka ku level where that's okay, then maybe you shouldn't be letting people in, right? Letting everyone in because you don't have the systems to support them. Naye nze mostly mbadde njagala kwogera ku kya immigration eya wano kubanga I think we watandikidde, just that I don't have enough data.
So here's that article, and this came out yesterday. at 8 p.m. So, after an Afghan national was named as being behind a shooting in Washington, D.C. that left one member of the National Guard dead and another in critical condition, the Trump administration says it's halting all asylum decisions. So wanagamba all asylum decisions. Mu bufunze omusajja ava mu Afghan yagenze mu DC yagenze nakuba abantu amasasi abantu babiri omu namutta one National Guard. And you guys know, Uganda eriko administration mumanyi how quickly we were moving. A decision zaabwe bo basalawo leero enchanga nga tutandise otambula. So mu bufunze baagala kuhaltinga, and I don't know how, I don't know how which are becoming the all third world countries. Nenga mubufunze bagala ko haltinga. I don't know if this is already in place, but they want to put a pause on immigration from all third world countries. In a pair of social media posts late Thursday night, Trump said he would permanently pause immigration from all third world countries to allow U.S. system to fully recover. What I want to say, I've helped a lot of people do their process of kuja mu America. There are people betwateramu the legal way, as in muzadde waabwe yali abayita. I kid you not, February 2022, we have not had back today. After having done this process many times, this has like doubled, almost tripled the time it usually takes. So I don't know if that's part of Kwanga. These people are coming in the way that they're supposed to come in. It's their parent that's inviting them here. Their parent is legal, bichi. So that's where we started. And the question to that is that webakola ekyo nga kituufu bali mu kikola to kind of like recover the system? Does it make sense? Is it doing more harm than good? Essentially, that was the question, OJ.
Thank you, Paradise. So, to me, I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? On one end, tulina okukkiriza nti immigration system ya America, tebadde nnungi, ebaddemu obuvuyo bungi, like they had a lot to figure out. Irwawo nnyo okusinga ensi endala. Yes, ate ekyo nakyo kiri double-edged nti most of the time tugamba bintu biruddewo nnyo biki, ate oluusi ne tugamba at least nkola, at least nnyingirawo ne bampa akakola n'enkola, yadde tebandisidingidde naye n'obeera wano emyaka 10 emyaka emeka naye ne tugamba nti at least okola, nti at least tebagenda kuyigganya nti biki bakuzeeyo nga maybe ensi endala wezikola ate zo ezangu ya immigration. So nze ndowooza nti yo system ebadde yeetaaga okukolebwako, and one of the things that they needed to work on is to work on the pending cases. Kubanga balina backlog mungi nnyo, which is hard okumukolako ngate they still like a lot of people coming in. Yeah. So from that perspective, I could understand. Kubanga bannange, sometimes it's really ridiculous. Remember cases zino okulwawo, it really breaks that, like for example, tunuulira omuntu who has been here 10 years taddanga mu kulaba family ye. You know, sometimes I think about that and remember, wow, that's crazy. Just for wanting to be in this country, like the entire family is completely shattered. Kubanga mama yavaamu taddanga, tata yavaamu taddanga 10 years, abaana bakuze. Some people go even 18 years. Nga sigamba nti no waliwo kye baakola, nga sigamba ki, naye nga just system ye failing nze. Ng'omuntu just case ye. Nze nja kwewako nga example. My case, I've been waiting for a decision for 6 years. Just a decision. 6 years. Right? So, mu system wetu, yes, we appreciate the fact that tujja, netubeera wano, netukola, netweyagala, netutambula mu kya America kyonna netushimalayo. Good thing it's a big country. We do appreciate that. Naye ate ne cases nazo, zeetaaga otambula, and we have to accept that the resources might not be enough to do all the things at the same time. Right? But then on the other end, ate ne mujjamu nti ate abali wabweru bwe tebasobola kujja. Ate still, ojja kwesanga, for example, some of these families are still not going to reunite because nga kesi gy'owadde otereddemu abaana bo bajje kyokka ate tebabakkiriza kujja. Right? So still no sanga there are two perspectives. There's on the side of the immigrants, right? What's best for them. Then there is also the side of America as a country, what's best for them. So when we are discussing that, which perspective are we looking at it? Kubanga bwe tutunuulira ku system ya America ne immigration biki, I think that it serves them to hold and say, let's first work or let's first sort out the immigration issues. If really, genuinely, that's what they are intending to do. Kubanga paradise ekirala. Kino kye bakoze beekwasizza ekyo gamba nti no they short people. They've been wanting to do that for a long time. Just bafunye excuse.
Kansoke nkubuuzemu kano naye nga sinakubuuza guys. Come on, tap the screen. Tuliko bangi leero. Tapping the screen at least to again nno leero tuli ku byamulamu oba mwagala tudde mu byabufumbo. Because ebyo by'omutapping Maria javaako. Oje, my question for you is, right? So kolabe scenario eno. Ono omukyala eyajja n'agamba omanyi abaana bange kambaleete mu right way. N'ayita mu process entuufu. Okitegeera. Kati olowooza tali mu regrettinga kubanga singa yabateeramu invitation n'agezaako okucircumventinga system abaana be ne bajja n'abikolera nga bali waneeno kubanga this is part of the problem nti kati gwe ojje oyinza ogamba omanyi kanteekemu nninde makubo amatuufu okitegeera naye ate nga waliwo omumexicana agenda ye ate okujja nti alage nti ye atuuse ekikye kya emergency nnyo basooke bakole kibadiringe naye kubanga jjukiraawo ku border enamba y'abantu eyingira. So ekibuuzo ky'obuuzizza nti what angle are we looking? Watch these conversations are important because we have to consider ebintu ebimu ebya politics byakwekwasa. Naye today is a perfect example because in Uganda we also facing the same issue. Era ng'omwami ono bw'ayogedde Herod nti ife ebintu wetubiraba nga bi-affectinga us, it's a problem. Naye ate bwe bitandika oku-affectinga abalala, it becomes okay. But honestly, the truth is, every nation etuuka nga resources zitandise okuggwaawo. Nze era mpa perfect example waneeno mu Othamu waneeno wetubeera. Twatuukako nga high school eyitiridde ng'abantu bangi, ng'abaana bangi abava mu nsi ez'awabweru. Like ensi endala abaana nga bangi quality education neegwa. Kati ekibuuzo kye nnina for you oje omuntu ayagala okuleeta abaana be okuva e Uganda ayite mu makubo matuufu oba yafube engeri ekimutuusa waneeno and then ebirala abiye ng'atuuse because amakubo matuufu abira gaganye. What else is there to do?
Antikate olaba paradise, of course that's on a personal level weesaliramu noganze kaneebereremu, but kiki ekireetera omuntu okugamba nti let me try other means? It's because the right means are not working out for them. Singa system yali ekola nga waliwo processing time, like you can't tell me that 6 years the case is still within processing time. That doesn't make any sense, right?
It doesn't.
Singa system yali ekola nti 2 years tops manyi ntaddemu omusango gwange guyiseemu oba teguyiseemu nfunye decision, what next? Then omuntu aba tekimukakatako okugamba nti kangende trying other means. Like for example, Harold Lindako, like for example, I've heard abantu nga abeera forced okuwasa muganda we just okufuna empapula. Watch ebintu bwebityo. Like we've been reduced to like not, our humanness has been stripped of us. Kubanga tugezaako okubaatusa system. Naye tewandibadde teweetaaga kubaatusa system singa ebadde ekola. Okitegera nze ndowooza. That's why for me I can say that I wouldn't really be opposed to the idea of let's first halt everything and then first fix it if it is genuine, right? fix the system, then we're opening up nga tumanyi nti things will flow, right? I think we could all benefit from that. So system bw'eba ekola, then tetuba tetwetaaga nnyo kubat somsmana teyetaaga kukola shortcut naffe fenyini we don't need to do a shortcut. So unfortunately buli omu fortunately buli omu osalawo that path to take, and whatever path you take, of course there's going to be a cost. Mwongamba nti nze kankole things the right way. Is one of the things lwaki ntera nnyo okubagamba nti Uganda, I really used to struggle in Uganda because nze njagala nnyo ebintu nga biri streamlined. Sagala nnyo ebintu nti byakubatisa byakuyiiya kino njagala nga biri clear, which of course Uganda system is not like that, and which is why I enjoy this system. So ebintu bwe biba nga biri clear, biri streamlined, nze waliwo abantu bo nga bajja kubeera comfortable mu system bwetyo nga yo yebakolera era bajja ne bwebagamba mulinde emyaka 10 as long as bamanyi emyaka 10 egyo wegiyitawo bajja kufuna kye baagala. Naye era waliyo abantu will never follow the system ne booleeta ki nga system ne bwebeera nnyangu, but they will always find a shortcut. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that this, if it was really coming from a genuine place, it could help. Yes, is it going to stall things? Of course. Is it going to affect people? It is. But if it is to make things right so that the system can run smoothly, personally, I would be willing to make that sacrifice, right? Okulindako ne tugamba, okay, katulindemukko katono, naye ebintu bwe binaddamu okuggulawo bijja kuba bitambula bulungi.
Herod, nga tugenda njagala tugende ku 4-4. Herod, obadde oteekawo amangu awo. Olina ekibuuzo kya Oji.
Ekisooka ngenda kutandikira gye twatandikidde. I have like 4 questions. One, eri gye twatandikidde nti oli agamba nti nze bwe mba nzize mu ggwanga tonsaleyo gwe nina kuwasa. Now, nange nekiflippinga. Gwoba ova mu ggwanga lyo nga olaba ogenze mu ggwanga eddala. Because you see, this is not kuba watune scenarios etwogerako sigamba nti okwanya omuwala omuyindi n'akugaana nedda. Family y'omuyindi egenda kuteekawo embeera ku bantu abadde baagala ne bagamba woogendera n'oyo tugenda kukutta oveewo. Then the question neebeera nti mwe lwaki mba mwagala nnyo culture yammwe okitegeera temusigalayo oba ontegera kingamba ne musigala mu culture yammwe ne mugisigaza, because bw'ogamba nti ovudde mu culture yo n'ojja eno ate onatandika kutiisatiisa bantu nti bwe tukukwata tujja kukola bwe tuki, because the problem teziri nti gwe wakwana omuyindi n'agamba sikwagala n'omugawo ojja kunjagala akumpaka bw'ogaana otya nedda. It is from a place oli akwanya omusomaali naye bana abasomaali bane ne bamugamba wokkiriza tugenda kukuwa masasi, we shall hang you. We have had those cases. Kyetugezaako okugamba that bano abantu bo lwaki babagamba bwe mba mwagala passport z'Abannayuganda, oyagala kubeera Uganda, oyagala kubeera munnayuganda tukuwe passport, naye bw'otuuka ogamba nti muwalawo yafunye omusajja omunnayuganda ogamba nedda, because the easier way yeyo nga ogiwaga nti omuntu ateekeddwa okuba afumbirwa omuzungu afune ki visa. So singa abazungu batandika ogamba tetwagala kuwasa baddugavu, how would you feel? Oh, so I think for me, what about we reverse it like that? Oli bw'abazze ye go church kujje wamwe nga goyagala nnyo culture yo. Firstly, ekyokubiri, it is on waliwo gambidde nti for you bw'otunulira ensi yo webe planninga okugamba nti bano immigrants, should the country put itself first or should it put the immigrants first? Because country wegenda ku representing interests zaayo egenda gamba ba immigrants fe tugenda, then because bw'obuuza immigrant yajja kugamba tuleke tuyingire. Why are you stopping us? Because the immigrant, the best interest for the immigrant is to enter. Nange newe mba njagala nyingire n'ekirala. So are you also comfortable waiting because you're inside? Because waliwo ne guy aliwa ne Uganda. So for you, oyinza okuba ogamba nti I'm comfortable because you're inside. But bw'obuuza guy ayagala oyingira, I don't think they will say tugira tuliyinzeemu, naye ajja gamba balinde nyingire then tulindemu. So if they ask you that question nga oli mu kuteekayo ebipapula by'obinoonya biyingiremu, wandibadde okyagamba nti kikyufu basooke batereeze tujja kujja. So I think let's look at it. I want us to have that place of, because what we shall now come to the truth, because I think that the judgment if let's say wandibadde oli eno Uganda oyagala genda oba okyateekamu empapula nayoga tulina China bye tutereeza wandibadde comfortable noga musooke mutereeze ndyoke enzije, or you still want, or you would have said basooke balinde enzije then batereeze. So I think those are the things Zenjagala, I want to hear your opinion on those three things.
Thank you, Harold. Those were good points, though raisings. Ekisooka we watandikidde ku kyogamba nti abantu bwe bayingira obadde oyogera ku ba Somalia ne bayingira ne baagala okusigala ku culture yaabwe and then they enforce it. Nze I haven't heard of any such scenario, but I think that's illegal, right? Kati alo tuba tugenza ate mu perspective ndala.
Let's just do a small voting here. If you have heard it, just say something. Bwekibanga kyenjogera kipya tokiwulirangako.
Herod, njagala nziremu ebibuuzo byo tukiveeko so that other people can submit. Kubanga ate we don't want to make it a dialogue, right? So I'm just giving you my opinion, which doesn't mean that it's the standard. So, nze kyembadde ngamba nti Omusomalia munnaabwe ye bw'agamba nti nze ngenda kwefunirayo omuwala Omunayuganda. Kati bali ne bagezaako okumuforcinga, okumuthreateninga, okukola ki, then that's illegal, right? And then we are going to deal with it from that perspective. Naye Omusomalia ye kennyini bw'agamba nze siwasa mukazi Munnayuganda, siwasa muntu atali Musomalia. You can't force them. Yes, wabawo obudamo mu nsi yo, nate tosobola ku dictating how they should live their lives. Kati ate olwo naawe oba otandise okukola ki? Okubatulugunya. Nate era okuba admittinga mu nsi yo. It should not be based on conditions like, oh, bw'otuuka wano you have to marry our women biki. Everyone era waliwo abasajja abazungu who actually when people are so segregated, osanga blacks say black love, they call it black love. You marry a fellow black. A white person will also say, I stick to my people. And naturally, it tends to work out like that. Like they don't even need to enforce it. It's kind of like natural, right? But there's still other people who cross boundaries. No, me, I don't even like white people. I'm going to go get a black person. There are other people who say, I don't want people who are black like me. I'm going to go and get a white person. Nze mu byobadde submitting where I would see a problem is if that specific group then goes ahead and tries to enforce that part of their culture. Then there I would have a problem. But overall, I think that standards the two holding abantu bawano luli nali ndabaka clip, I think it was in Europe. Abantu bali ba celebrating a wedding, omusajja omuzungu najja n'abagamba, hey, you're not supposed to do that. I don't remember what it was. They shouldn't be celebrating the way they were celebrating because they are in Europe. That when you come to Europe, you're supposed to do things the way we do them. And it caused a lot of chaos. He's being racist and all that. Which was true, but then you can't again turn around no gamba kati katuweka Abanyarwanda bokka n'Abakongo kubanga bo they are willing to marry our women. Naye bano Abayindi abatagala kutuwasa bo tetulina bbawa kubanga bantu babi nnyo lwaki batusosola bikiri no. I don't think that. All I'm saying is that the same standards we hold these people on, we should try to apply them ewaffe. Kati ekirala kyoyogeddeko, which I think it's a good point, ekyogamba nti should the country put their interests first or should they put the immigrants' interests first, or even refugees, whatever you want to look at it. I think that's the dilemma. I think that's the thing that countries have to struggle with. Should we put for example, like the other time Germany was having that crisis. I don't really watch news, but I get to know what's going on. So they were having that crisis of people coming in, right? And then they're faced with the dilemma. We don't have the resources to take care of these people. But then abantu bali stranded. Ochegera abali ku border yamwe. There's the humane part of it. These are human beings like you. They need help. They don't have anywhere else to go. They've survived a lot just to get to your border. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let them in, or are you going to put your interests first and say, you know what? I don't have space. Munoonyeje mudda. And I think still that's the crisis America faces with abaspana. Oshegera. Batindiza olugendo bazze batuuse ewammwe. Yes, tebalina documents. They shouldn't be let in. But they are human beings. Oshegera. So are you going to just let them die? Kikukakatako as a human being okubalabirira. You first put your interests on the side. You take care of them as human beings. Then you see how to integrate them. So that's the dilemma that countries face. And that's why they keep coming up. Nabo, sigamba nti nno, wetujja wano ku nsi tuba tetuyina a workbook nti this is how, oba user's guide, right? So it's not like governments also know exactly what to do. They also try things. Say, let's try this, let's try that, depending on their different beliefs. So ndowooza eyo ye dilemma era kyobalaba nagambye, when we are looking at it, we have to look at it as, should we, if we are looking at the country, because at the end of the day, we're tujja wano as immigrants, bw'ojja mu US, interests za US naawe kati zikukwatako kuba gy'obeera. It's now your country, you're a resident. You want the well-being, the general well-being of this country. So sisobola kukitunuulira only from the perspective of an immigrant, because I'm also a US resident. Both perspectives affect me. Then waiting, because I'm inside. I guess that's fair for you to say that. But then I'm inside, but my children are back home, right? I want them to come here. So I don't think that that's what I would basing that okyogamba nti no, if it was true that these people really want to clean up the system, ne bagitereeza nebange functioninga, personally I would be willing to make that sacrifice and wait. I mean, it's not like we have a choice anyway, but I'm saying I would be at peace with that, right? Because nze mmanyi nti overall kiba kijja tuyamba n'abali ewaka. That's why there are things like delayed gratification, like patience, right? Sometimes you don't get what you want immediately, but as long as there's hope that you're going to get something better, then it makes it worth the while. So that's where I'm coming from, Tinzen. It's not because I'm inside already, but it's because I would really like for the American immigration system to function a little bit better than it does now. Thank you. I think let's open up for other people to submit. What's the against?
What's that to say? I've enjoyed this, I have to say. Well, hi, Balamusisa, everyone in the house at large. I was just Maria Ndeka. Ndeka Maria Ndeka. I'm glad I stumbled upon this live. Naye Hakrin Kago Bani Amwese. I just wanted to say before I submit anything that this has been one of the most, for lack of a better word, civilized conversation I have heard on TikTok for a while. Mwembi, Harold, and Oje, Ne Paradise for facilitating the conversation. This is nice. This is a breath of fresh air. You're both on different sides of the spectrum, but you're very civil, respectful. Wanje?
Even the listeners.
Even the listeners, actually, yes. I'm impressed. I really am, and I'm happy to be here. And Oje, I can't believe I have never heard you speak, but you're a breath of fresh air. So I'm a fan officially. Bolton, even you, yes. Antingambi House at large. That covers everyone. That covers everyone. Sidina submission, Nyoya Amani, I feel like you both have covered pretty much all sides of this. Nzichendo's anti the nuance that was mentioned earlier, anti depending on what side of this conversation you're on, you'll have a different perspective. Wobuuza omuntu ali ku lugira America banging at the door to be let in, Of course, they will look at this discussion based on their perspective. If you ask Americans that were born and raised here, they'll have a different perspective. I don't think anyone truly has all the answers, but Njagade, the approach of looking at all different angles of this conversation, which I think OJ did a good job at that. But at the end of the day, countries are supposed to do what's best for them as a country, even if that means that some of us might be collateral damage at the end of the day. Unfortunately, the current events that are happening in this country right now, what's best for the country is relative, right? Most of these events are being engineered to further, portray the agenda that's going on. Guys, Babi Panze. I won't go into detail, but there's a lot of news out there that's saying a lot of these events are being engineered to further push the agenda. So whether truly shutting down immigration will mean fixing the system, only one way to find out, right? But yeah, great submission otherwise. I think Harold made that submission to Somalis that moved to Uganda for asylum, but to Keo, and they don't want to immerse in the culture, especially when it comes to marriage. And I will say that I haven't heard of that directly. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't heard of it directly, but I can see how that could happen. I think Abantu Bonna Babade around certain groups in Africa know how important it is for them to marry just each other and not commingle with other African areas. Naye, Bolton, talk about intermarriage. I'm trying. I don't know why you're picking on me specifically, but we need to marry. Harold, if I know he's away for a bit, but my question to Harold, I guess, would be, is that the hill that we want to die on? Yes, there are all these big issues going on in the country. Uganda has a ton of things to fix. Ekizibu ekisinga obunene mazima ddala nti tebaagala basajja baffe bawase bakazi baabwe. Like, is it that deep? For lack of a better word, right? Because to Oje's point, immigration has always been conditional. This goes back to like the 18th and 19th century. But if you accept people in the country, which is exactly what America is doing, over the past few decades, immigration has become highly political. It always has been. Nebali mugikozesa nnyo okudividing abantu, right? So it is unfortunate, especially where batandika okutta abantu nti, oh, you married a Muganda girl, tugenda kukuba emiggo, we're going to shun you from the society and whatnot. That is absolutely unfortunate. The thing is, from a legal perspective, unless those people commit a crime, there's nothing you can do about it, right? We live in America. Every day tulaba abantu abajja ne bagamba, oh, nze ndi muddugavu naye sobola kuwasa muddugavu. That's not illegal, right? People have their preferences, and unless that person goes out of their way ne bagamba ngenda kukuba abakazi abaddugavu kubanga saagala bawasa, then that's something that you can take to court. That's a check that you can cash. But someone going and getting a microphone and saying, oh, I don't want people from my culture to marry people from the other culture. Yeah, people might call you racist. People might call you all different types of names. It doesn't make it illegal. Now, from a social standpoint, is it disgusting? Absolutely. Naye bw'otandika w'otunulira ebintu ebiri legal and you try to make them emotional, it becomes a mix of things that shouldn't collide. So we can't apply our emotions to the law sometimes, because where are you going to draw the line? Nti, okay, bagenda kubuuza ali ku checkpoint, onokkiriza muwala wo, your 17-year-old, when she turns 21 to marry a Muganda. If you say no, we can't let you in. Okay, fine. What next, right? We're not going to stop at marriage. What happens when they're like, oh, actually, you know what? These guys are getting so much money. Bagaggawadde ng'ate twabaleeta wano eno just kubeera ba immigrants. Maybe we need to create some sort of law okubalemesa okugaggawala nti, yes, you can come here as an asylee, but you can't get too rich than the rest of us. So, Harold, much as I agree with you that it is a very disgusting thing, especially if violence is involved, right? If people are getting harmed for things like this, absolutely, that's disgusting. It's not illegal, though, right? And I think some of these conversations, I hate the American saying of bigger fish to fry, but it's exactly that. Tetusobola kufokasinga ku mukene nga tulina semutundu omunene. If the semutundu is immigration, we need to address immigration from a high level, from a legal perspective, right?
Yeah.
And then these little social things will come in every now and then, because quite frankly, in any melting pot of a country, I don't think those are things that you can get rid of completely. Abantu, lately, our attitude towards immigration is, it's not just laws, procedure. Of course, it's shaped by how we see the world, or how certain immigrants are treated, or they're only acceptable under certain conditions. Look in America. Right now, if I say the word immigrant, I guarantee you either mspana ya kusoka mubongo or bamudugav, right? Most people don't even think about white immigrants. Like because we're so polarized. And so abantu abasinga, the reason they're not even marching or complaining about all the actions that are happening right now with enforcement is because tebannalaba bantu babafaanana nga babatwala. So at that point, it's not a big deal. Now, when the standards applied to one group of immigrants are much stricter than those applied to others, it suggests that the issue isn't actually about following the rules. And I think we all know that by now. It's about the presence of who's considered natural or welcome, and whose presence is seen as something that needs constant justification, which is a bias. In this case, in our American case, it's a racial and religious bias. Guy, we are banning the asylum visa, you're going to be third world countries only, right? Every single time there's an issue that happens with immigrants, we see only a specific category of immigrants is affected. So, short story long, that's my submission of the whole argument of saying you can stay, but only if you behave exactly how we want, and then they only say to certain groups or immigrants that they consider equal to them. I don't know. That bigger fish. That's my submission.
Omukyala muwa obugalo bannange.
Very good submission.
Yeah,
but I wanted to give a view on how that small problem becomes the bigger fish to fry.
Of course.
Now, I'm going to firstly give a story. I'm not saying this is correct, but this is the whole myth that we have in Uganda. Now, there's a story that goes that some Rwandese people came, right? Got presidency, and then eventually they turned everything to, if you don't belong to this sect, you don't get a job, you don't get A, you don't get B, you don't get... And the complaint is that these guys, the reason why they don't put Uganda like at the forefront is because they don't care, they're not Ugandans, right? Now, so you see how that becomes, because one time you have to agree that when you integrate, what made these countries, the first world countries, the countries that people wanted to go to, was because they had a culture that made them what they are. So you came and found this culture, and their problem is that you are trying to abuse the culture instead of being part of the culture. So now, whilst this social thing looks like it's minor, when you look through it deep down, let me give an example of Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a native who put his country first, did everything, he had his country. And then some guys brought propaganda, said, nah, you see, this guy, and then eventually when he left, the guys that caused the propaganda did not have the country, because it wasn't a culture, it's a culture that he had made. So I think when you see these guys saying, eventually they say, okay, we don't want, because the question is, like I said, I don't have a problem. If I approached an Indian girl, a Somali girl, and said, I love you, and they said, no, they haven't, they're entitled to that. But when now people start saying, if we get you, right, of course it's not going to be documented anywhere, But you get, when you date someone like that, they'll say, now, which means these guys are trying to protect a culture, and then eventually say, we also want to become Ugandan, and you guys are going to include us in this whole thing, curriculum of you being Ugandan. But when we say that, but when you have cultures that say, eventually when these guys get power, I'm going to give another example. Most of these guys, when they come here, they come under the guise of their uncles who have stabilized here. Some of these companies, they all don't really pay tax. They have tax exemptions. They're living a better life. And then, so what they choose to do is they want to keep in that better life, because the only way you do, msajja gaye tuddeyo mu Luganda kale abantu kati omuntu kitandika kiri social nga kantu katono nti ffe tetwagala ku integrating n'abana abantu ffe twagala twajja wano naye twagala tusigale nga we tuli.
Is that me or is that his sound? Harold.
Hello? Yes, simanyi nze mbawulira bulungi.
It sounds good.
Mumpulira bulungi?
Yeah, tukuwulira.
Okay. So kitandika kiri social nti totuwasaamu, right? Kyovala n'abawalabu bagamba bo bakitegeera that when bw'oba oyagala kupreserving ekintu kyo, you don't allow, once gukasita okkiriza intermarriage oba okkiriza nti the culture now we want it to dilute. So kitandika kiri social nti tokwana muwala, but buli woogenda nga kiranda kigenda kituuka nti nga wetugamba nti waliwo engombe egamba nti abana abasajja bali mu kulembeza ensonga lwaki bo tebateeka ggwanga lyaffe because boba abamu bagamba nti these people bano bo Banyarwanda. So they don't care if the country disappeared, if it didn't disappear, bo bagamba nti they don't really care. But probably singa yali Munnayuganda nga amanyi nti munnaye yandifunyemu kale akagamba nti because gwe kyogwo gwolaba eventually bano abantu bajja kuzaala abantu babeere nga bangi batandika bagamba mutuleke ffe culture yaffe tugipreserving ne mugikiriza, eventually ne bagenda nga bakuza kino ekintu ogenda olaba nga eyali culture kati bafuuse bangi, okitegeera kati batandika okugamba nti kati omu bw'afuna obukulembeze ogenda olaba nga balaba boxing like it eventually. So bano banki bagamba nti gwoba wajja America wali attracted ku culture gye tulina ng'etukoledde tudevelopinga, lwaki gwe bw'oyagala otuuke wano oyagala ogikyuse? Kikiro kambe bw'oplayinga ku rules zaabwe tebakuyinaako obuzibu, naye bw'ojja n'oyagala nti because I think abantu bano abagezaako kukyusa bino ebintu bya immigration bagenze balaba nti bano abantu bwe bajja eno bo tebateeka birowoozo bya ggwanga lyaffe, baagala basigalemu nga we yava e Uganda ng'omuntu bw'omukwanako akuyisaamu omugere ayagala wano bw'otuuka amateeka ye agatwalire mu ngalo. So I think obuzibu bwabwe si wanje.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Eyo gundi gyo nyonyodde ya basically eyo blueprint ekola ku Uganda oka oba ne mu America katugeze oba specifically
anywhere.
Okay, kati kankubuulire something oba let me rebuttal you on something kati
yes,
Uganda kigenda kwawukana neda tunyumya bunyumya, we are just sharing ideas kwajukira nze natandise kati Harold mbadde njaga kugambamuko America kyawukanamuko nti bano abasajja bakola ekintu ngenda kozesa ekigambo kye bayita system era nkikunyonyole bwenti nti oba following abateeta abo ba Andrew Tate bani bakunyonyola nti bano abasajja basettinga akantu kalinga kazanyo gye bayita matrix tujja wano ne tubeera immigrants baki ne a handful of us actually really get a taste of actual success in this country. Maria, abantu abasinga okujja neno ne basucceedinga nga ba immigrants batono like abavaamu ne bafuuka cream de la cream, okitegeera baba batono era bakola ebintu bingi nnyo ebyenjawulo nti kati eky'Amerika kyawukanamuko nti osobola okugaana bino byonna ebyambu nno oli towasa muyindi tokola ki naye wano system ekkuba lwaki omwana w'omuyindi bw'anajja waneno n'abeera exposed ku couch eri wano agenda alekerawo okwebikkirira. I'm sorry to say tusoba n'abaana ba pre-young ebintu bya Hindu baabivaako dda. You're in the same class n'omwana omugujirati nga takyabikkirira nviiri. Weesanganga Harold eno fiya gyobadde olina nti nno Omusomaali takyagambibwako wano mwana ttu mu America kyawukanamuko nti onsanga n'Omusomaali nga nkaga oba onfuna. So wano ku America kyawukana mu culture like mu Africa tucha preserving anyo cultures zaffe ntino weesanga nga kituufu it's like a taboo okuleeta omukazi omuyindi mu family yammwe y'abasajja oba abaganda oba abanyankole n'ogamba maama nze n'omuyindi wuno emisoso giba mingi era ne waba akwadde kyasi nakkiriza bakuboola okitegera naye bwe tudda mu culture differences zano mu America byawukana mu kolwaki abantu kijasinzira ku abazi obuzi ne bebazaalidde wano abazi obuzi ngabo benyini bowadde example bajja sigala nga beekipinga mu bukiriki bwabwe obwa Syria nyama eno sikola biki nata abaana babe bazaalidde wano babeera diluted abamu babeera swayed away with the culture about what is existing ne beesanganga bavudde ku mugendo gwa culture eri mbuno ffe tetukola kino na kino kyembalinyaga otutereeza mu ntikati bo oyogede submission ebadde nnungi abantu abo bajja ne bagamba katugeze nga abo ba refugee Uganda beyagambye beyagala n'abira maaso ti abana inaffe tukooye era nakuwadde reason nti ojja kwesanga nga funding ng'ovudde ku bino ebya culture ng'ekintu aspect ya nsimbi Uganda ebeera yennyini ekaluubizibwa funding projects z'aba refugees abo kubaliisa kubawa stipulated allowance kubawa medical care housing biki kubanga okurunning a refugee camp for just one day nze gamba nakolerako UN nga sinajja mu America like for a few twaliba kogundi ba part timer but we used to go and do what we call twazitanga missions mugendako Congo ne mukola aka mission yao biki naye okusustaining one refugee gwe sente zibamuteekako nga bwebibanga bya ddala nga biri mu rightful channels okusustaining omuntu gwe bayita refugee a day bamuteekangako dollars eziberanga $18 ku 2 like bo bwe bakibala mu bibalo byabwe nga alidde anywedde ate ng'eyo bare minimum okitegeera kati boba kati ebintu bino bya nsimbi government ya Uganda nayo bukyekye kunyonyode nti yemu ku government erina abaana abavubuka kati ebere struggling yennyini okusustaining abantu baayo first priority ye munansi kati ate bana abajja bainako programs ezibadde ziyambako wesanga nga funding eyo eri kati nga bwegambe UNHCR etandise okujja bendera zaayo mu bitundu ebimu olw'ensonga zitali zimu oba obutalibu ebintu ebitakkiriziganyizibwako omanyi terms za refugee biki ne zino agencies eziyambako wabaawo obutendera baga nti tujja bayambirako ku ba refugee naye namuffe mutukkirize tubenga tuvuga empanka tukole biki waliwo projects awo ezi aye mugamba ate ffe kyalo tekkiriza musajja ku musajja nga mutubuola ate nga no okiga kyenkugamba waliwo ebintu bingi ebiri behind kati omusajja agenda nakiraba nti alina abantu 100 ab'okuliisa ne budget gyafuna y'abantu 2 nagamba nange ninyeko ku break then tutunuulya what are the current conditions mu nsi gye bava olutalo omusajja atandise okujjayo amajege Somalia gakomawo Uganda meaning tebakyalina nnyo kye bakuuma nti abayekero babafugaza oba biki kati agamba temujja ate n'abali wana batanabeera processed we baba basobola bakole ki baddeyo so ntagadde nnyo naye mbalinyaga ku highlighting ekyo then ekyokubiri kyenjagala oku highlighting nnyo kyekyakkaawo kyekikugamba nti kiriza Ghana kyonyonyodde kituufu 100% nti abagundi abanyarwanda oba kabilas endala nga bwezinyonyodde it's easier for them to get married to omuntu yenna oba omusaami oba muki naye ate bali eri bo bajja ne bukawuca bwabwe ate ne baagala babusigaze naye kitali ku America lwaki kati America wekiyawukaniramu kikino nti wano kiri ekintu kyenkunyonyola kye bayita system gye bazimba ekuba buli omu era abantu abavaayo ne bafuuka cream de la cream all the top 1% ng'obadde immigrant it takes a lot of work either mukama n'akuyamba katugeze n'ofuna education enyungi oba n'otegera business in a very different and smart perspective nga ba oje n'okeera enkya okibuukamu kati ba oje ne bagamba afe 9 to 5 eyaba awesome tugikooye ozze wano osomye ozze mu trade era ozzeemu kale ofunye degree ya engineering of course nursing era ogendagenda ku ddwaliro olina okukola 12 hours katugeze naye ate kati oje bwagamba nti kati kale kankole 12 hours ezo naye kantegere ne business ya America etambula entya naggulawo chain kuwe example bayabajjali ya World simanyi nnyo kye okitegera najja na breaking anajja olaba nti naggulawo katugeze mwerako example naye nkyalo bwakere nkya naggulawo amaduka agonga 10 mu states ezenjawulo aba breaking even for an immigrant ochege chengam aye be batono nnyo kati bano bo ba setting a system ntinewe mujje ogenda kwesanga ng'okukimakinga wano it's a lot of work kikyengamba kati zino ensi tezistopinze muno lwakuba tutwala emirimu gyabo bakya esebo gena maaso.
Mr. Elsam, have you also thought maybe export gye tutwala yetali competent enough?
Kati kankunyonyolemu ekyo Herod Salawo abaana abajja wano ebiseera ebisinga ffe abasinga eri. I'm telling you, abantu abatera traveling ogenda kwesanga abadde akola masters Makerere, abadde akola biki. The best abayindi abajja wano baba ba doctors already naye n'omulaba ng'ali mu keya nagamba yali doctor ate nga gw'omutya. Kyenkunyonnyola nti sebo abantu abajja wano cream ya Africa yetera okuyimigrate nga nze nkubula because lwaki tojja kuba engineer bakuwe $1,000 Uganda ogamba tekigwa because already owulira your worth osomye okola ki ogenda na registering mu UIPE oteekamu akasenteko owulira oli wa mugaso. Ebiseera ebisinga abantu abatambula I'm sorry to say sigamba nti n'abatambula bonna ekyeyo kya America biki Canada biki kisangamu abantu nga bayivuko ova ku biri ebya Dubai senior for biki I'm sorry to say
ate n'okwongerezaako in terms of net migration nalinda aba stats za last year most of the Ugandans are leaving Uganda okugenda manga gweru bagenda na mu nsi z'abawalabu eno tebajjaayo nnyo.
That statistic is correct. I've been to Dubai.
Going to Arab countries.
Anti era kiddayo ku kiri lwaki tebagenda kujja eno kubanga Dubai bagamba senior 4 mujje twetaaga ba house cleaner bo senior 4 weeri naye jukira wali akadinisa visa zigabibwa wano tata wange yajja dda n'andeeta tugeze nenfuna green card ekiralo ja kujja F1 ekiralo sijja banyonyola nnyo ng'ejje mujja wano mubimanyi ne kati America yo kyeriko ekyenjawulo olina okuba ng'ozze nga mutuufu ekikuleesa ensonga sigala bino ebyokwereegeze I'm sorry to say there are also visas naye qualifications oba n'akasengejja ka raising a standard era gyokwesanga nga abantu abajja wano eno mubeera so camped mubeera like ebiseera ebisinga you are the top people in your countries, in your fields, just move your compensation. Yes, waliwo n'abajja ne tubivuga naye era naffe tuba twabugumamuko. That's what I'm trying to say. Anti kunyonyodde nzinze nakubako akasaale n'omuyindi nga yali dokita naseka nasirika buse Samo buli bye nali nkola.
But anyway, what you're saying is really right. But the just submission I identity, I think ngawo government bana basajja nabo bakitegera in future tugenda kufuna abantu bwe banajjanga tetulina system ebakomako
kati namanya tujja kuyamba n'abasajja kiri mwagambye tino zino ensi ziba tezimanyi ensi nga America buli kyekola ekimanyi no kankubulire every katolaba this country bagoberera nnyo constitution yawe ate eri well laid out like baatula era bakola nnyo n'ennongoosereza kati this is one of the countries ze kinjagaze n'ensi yali egoberera nnyo ekintu kye bayita constitution yaabwe I'm sorry to say nze nasiima abantu abo bakuwa fair chance bane tusiimeko mukkirize yeemu ku nsi wadde waliwo era ka element yako tikebulizaamu naye wane n'ensi wobanga playing the cards all right this country gives you a fair chance I'm telling you this country gives you a fair chance kyengezaako gamba fair chance kyeki enensi wojja noteekamu waakawo if you put in the work in this country I'm telling you ogenda kubeerako kyoba mu America wano if you put in the work disclaimer if you put in the what
mwagala kuntuuza nnyumba
yes ojja n'otuula n'olowooza munawe Osam yagambye America eri fair jajjange wajjajja wagini yes but it is one of the few countries we bagoberera ku constitution yammwe ya Uganda ebibyo bitam limits mwakutulamu dda simanyi biki mwajjamu dda biki mwajjamu so what am I trying to say
I think banabantu when those things came
omuntu okujja nga immigrant waliwo programs already
that the system part has sobered everything because jukira omuntu yono waba ina system ye they don't need to worry about you ojja kutuuka system ejja kukusootinga
weebale nnyo kyobudola nti abamu baalemererwanga ne baddayo kubanga system ekuba
because that one of Uganda tetulina system kyovala omuyindi ajja
olaba Uganda kyekintu buli muntu gwe mulaba wakale njenjawulo ojja muyita investor kyekintu kye bagambanga abasajja be twasiikanga nabo ebibbo bya paani nga tukopeetingira emidaala e Kampala era naye omuyindi naye yalabanga paani atambula enkya n'omusanga ng'ataddewo ekibbo alisi yafunanga omuntu amusiipaani yamwetundire Chengeza ko ganti ne baganti investor tuine edduuka kwenaje sente nga naye asuubula bubbalubu ene wandigambye investor yandibadda owuninga kizimbe nze mwempa okitegeera nga nenga naye aleeta bubbalubu avuganya naawe mugenda buyiriba twayiriba kamukamu engoye nga weesanga omuyindi naye adduse emmanga eri ku galaji gye tujja engoye ajeyo akasatu kuba kasoma amutuuzangaawo nomugaa tuulaawo kanzije system wano mu America system eri ku lwaki bojja n'olemererwa okukola by'olina okukola
ekizibu ekiri wa wano Elsamu olaba the reason why these systems etulina lwaki teswa kufika ngeri mu Africa. Firstly, there are people benefiting from these rotten systems, and the people benefiting ntanyo kwa example that all these years of parliament and opposition and people telling us these things tewali abadajja n'atugamba nti naye sente ngaluzi wano bino byadatandise okwogera bino nti naye sente zisasula aba MP n'emisala naki like but kati nono MP lwaki takyogerako kubanga naye agenda they're going to benefit from that thing. So I think zino loopholes zetuyina, and that's why for me I've always been Africa okuterera baye lagamunga dictator ora n'abajamani abo bafuna munga Hitler ekiye kigafete twagala sagala kumanya you either do what we are saying or something. So I don't know, but I think what I've picked from here is we need to sort the system. Like the system needs to be sorted somehow before we can get
I know, I was going to laugh. I was like saying that Africa needs dictators.
ayogedde ensonga naye okay kantelezemu Harold, I'm sorry sagala nnyo tuyingirire bakulu abo naye bakojja weebali abo boyogeddeko bannemeddewo naye ate ideally era nebibala fruits of their labor tetugiraba. So kyengezako kugamba kikino, number one we need to anoze sina gwe nnumbye naye kyengezako kugamba kikino, ideally tulina okuddayo ku drawing board number one and coming up with what works. I'm sorry to say bakojja abasinga balina notes enkadde za mukulu 1976 what works. Yes, Maria Wandika, yes. To let us go back ngaffe abavubuka nekyali ngenda myakana. So anyway, so today ku drawing board let us see what really works, what actually does what work, because kati olina generation eya 55% of your population bali youth, oyingiza abasomali nabo bavubuka n'abasudani abajjanze siteralaba bajjajja abasudani bonna betwasambanga n'abensero bonna bavubuka bali energetic nabo bajja to compete for these few available resources. Okitegeera era ogenda ku ending up ng'okaminza up n'ezo gundi era ekyo paradise yagamba nti no, is it right na kunyonyode ne kugamba ebintu bineeno buli omu governments zina we zifuniramu na nensi ziri eri abantu gye bava zirina zezifuniramu. Kati eky'Amerika kikino when they stop we ba stopping bintu bingi nnyo ebifiirwa kutandikira kufa abaliwo wanene kuba omusajja yagambye ekistopping sa kusooka fungula ffe alabe nyina green card nagifuna ati nawasa nagundi oyo yajja atya bagenda okugenda osima nga ffenna tufuluma bufulumi. I'm sorry to say oyinza kitunulya n'olowooza I'm being honest.
Mr. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Katuulire ku Xbox Clips Madden kyabadde agamba ku topic.
Hello bane mugamba mtieyo. I feel like most of these countries are signing other contracts ngabola ba America. In a contract and they are signing I think somebody had example ya Mexico. Nti abantu we bajja ku border ne tubakiriza. There is the humanity part of it nti tuli balungi naye waliwo betwasigning ogamba nti tulina obakkiriza okujja nti amateeka olwedde baagateekawo kiyamba oba tekiyamba baagateekawo. Right now tuli mu time where America erina okukyuka, tulina okukyusaamu. Waliwo abantu bangi abatalina mpapula bali but they are struggling. Namwe mbamanyi bali mu struggling. Ate people are still coming in. So tekigaana okusooka okubisibamu katini.
Guys, obuze ku muganda wange, this is my older brother. Maria buza muganda wange.
Paradise, hello.
Hello, Ogambo Tio Maria. I think
so. Point najikola bulungi kwa basaba kuwandika.
Aliwa jengala dem badi nyaga kola chia.
So your point ebadde. Because Maria, so are you saying that right now immigration basoke bajiposing
what they are doing, they basoke baposing so tukakanye ekiri wano. You know, I'm a Democrat. I've always voted Democrat, and I always believe it's the right way to go. You know, na yendo was anti. You know, it needs to change. It needs to change. Mwala bekyavaawo nga caravan zijja buli kaseera ne ziyingira Mexico wano. Caravan of people ne bayingira. Nothing was being done. The borders were still open. I hated seeing that as a Democrat. Kubanga fa bali mbufuzi then kiraba nga bayingira kati onazeeko azze na busungu. I hate that. I hate what is done. Naye something had to be done. I think your point here for now umnalayogere.
Okay. So okusoka nango okutangazamu, I think most people would agree. I want to hear, are there people that don't agree to pause immigration? Jebadi? Like that's the kubanga, I think abasinga bagambi they agree. Are there people on this platform?
All countries.
I would say in US. For now, I only talk about US only now.
Kubanga nafe mu Uganda batagobaita bojipozi nga kisusse.
So here's the thing, kale kambuze ekibuzo guys. Is there a difference when we look at immigration? Let's say 5 Canadians over 5 Europeans. Let's pick a specific countries. Let's say 5 people above Sweden. 5 people above Uganda. But never immigrant. Do you think these people will be treated the same?
I'll say no.
No.
Definitely not.
What do you guys think they are not? They are not today? Like
countries. The other ones are from EU.
Same reason bagala kujja wa third world right now.
Neda, I think they won't be treated the same. One, I think kizoba Ghana geographical location yawa gyozalibwa ekola kinene nnyo. Kubanga kati bwogambye 5 Swedish people ne 5 Ugandan people. Bajja kutunuulira abantu abo, yes, bonna on any other normal day, they should have been treated the same. They should have been treated the same. The circumstances revolving your countries, your country of origin, Uganda treated in a different way. For example,
Uganda tuchali third world.
Bagenda soka batunuulira ebintu bino wammanga mu system. Immigration wise, how many Ugandans have come? How many Ugandans have come and they overstayed their visa? I'm talking about immigration. Sina yogera ku color of your skin. How many Ugandans have forged documents okujja mu America? How many Ugandans? Then batunulire how many Swedish people have forged documents?
When you're asking the answer to that is almost all of them.
Back in the day. So,
we literally we have a word that we have a whole space, a whole piece of land. It's a word that's in our vocabulary. We don't even have to say document
Paradise toyogerayo abantu balaba ne kuliko ne ambassador America awulira obadde otya Paradise now
the article of America benyini we bafulumya article at the beginning of the year boke nyini ne batugamba tukimanyi
yatuleetera university yaffe
no Paradise kambuuze wobanga omuntu ava maybe okay let me say the person is coming from the UK ngagenda mu USA kola and they have a bachelor's do they go direct in the system and start working or they have to also attest whatever case it is or Ugandans with a bachelor's can they work direct
guys, I don't know maybe you guys kino kintu mukimanyi. I think you guys you maybe mulowooza it's a secret. So at the beginning of the year, right, US embassy in Uganda literally came out and said abana Uganda tukoye fake documents zamwe. They say that Oshtegera. It's because many people babama, because they review them, it's at a point where the biggest concern a US embassy kibasoko kutunula is verifying a document izo. So the idea that this is a secret, this was actually I can pull up the article ngomuntu mulala wa submission.
Yeah, so I also saw the article.
Genda maso mu demo sweet cakes. Ekibuzo kyabadde abuuzizza.
Okay, ka sweet cakes kankuddemu ekibuuzo kyo. Sweet cakes nkuddemu ekibuuzo kyo.
Zira mukwano.
Nsobola okugamba nti nno abantu bano wammanga bwe bajja wano obuyigirize bwabwe bugenda beera considered. Abantu bombi owe Uganda ina bachelor bw'ojja wano obuyigirize bwo bajja bu consideringa n'omuntu wa UK naye ulira kano omuntu owe UK bw'ajja wano ne bachelor's degree ng'eyange katugeze electrical engineering naye University of Leeds first class ne electrical engineering University Makerere first class. So ketunololya abantu abo bombi tulina Awesome tulina ne John Smith kitegeera ne tu applying omulimu gwe gumu bagenda wa John Smith kulwaki America feeling safe ntino erooza UK standard waliwo kye bayita standards bannange era waliwo ne bureau number ekwansaganya ebintu bya standards internationally. So international standards organization mwena mugimanyi ISO. So bakkiriza nti nno omutendera ogw'ebyenjigiriza oguli e UK sina kindi gutuukatuuka gwenkana oba gwagala okwenkanira ddala omutendera gw'enjigiriza ogwa Amerika. Owulira ekintu ekyo nze Awesome tebajja kugamba nti saasoma no naye nnyina okukubaako kagundi kenkola wano okugira nga ekyange bakikkiriza kyokka ate oli John Smith ye basobola omuweerawo omulimu direct ekitege kyeŋŋamba nti oba ffenna twagala ku applying nga electrical analysts oba engineering whatever bajja mmuwa John Smith nga talina nnyo extra work gy'akoze. Nze Awesome nyina okukola extra work either I have to go and register my documents ne baza accrediting. Yeah, I was looking for the right word. It's called accreditation. And they have to review bye nasoma curricula mu course units ezenkaga mu ennya ze namala emyaka ena nga nsoma.
Did we lose him?
Ng'omusajja yali eri ku malwa n'agamba kankole satellite communication nga course unit nga waneeno bo tebagyagala. So then when they accredit me bajja kuweyinga bye nasoma n'ebya wano n'egundi ze nafunamu then bo baconverting credit units zange.
Man, toina network onawo.
Kubanga oyinza okulaba nze nyina first class zokka nga wano si first class nga waneno I'm just mpugabuuzi. So that's it. Okola naye olina okuteekamu extra work. Simanyi oba nkuzeemu ekibuuzo kyo maama.
Olaba, my auntie before she applied for a job yeah. Kati now applying a mukata ne bagagenda mu 8 million. But when she went to Canada and got the book yeah, she comes back and they're giving her like 20M. So I was like in the same country but the same job ninga million ya abiri. Then we were in Uganda ngamwa sente to so I was like so.
No zanchi kunyonyodda anti. Anti kadijukira nche kyenkunyonyo ne gamba nti owe UK, Canada,
Yeah, they're not considered
Germany.
the same as
Yeah, they are not
Africans.
considered the we are not
So
considered
yeah.
the same. Kubanga balaba nti kubanga abantu bava eno nga basomedde mu America n'agenda n'asala wakole dissertation ye mu UK oba afuneko UK education. Naye nga olwedde mu America kakyekimo, these people go back and forth, they respect their education. Era professor wano waba abadde asomesa gonde Harvard asobola okusala n'agenda n'asomesa eri wa Lancashire oba whatever mbyerabidde gye twabeerange. University of Suffolk, Newcastle. Asobola ogenda bugenzi ne batamubuuza naki naye gwe genda ofune PhD olaba bona osomesaayo. Ojja somesa naye bajja kuwa diploma class kwegamba basooke bakuveting ennyo kwegamba balina engeri gye batutwalamu nga. The only thing is to conform to their standards. Wano ze kyenagamba katusome tubalage we are their equals. Tufune American education eno mpola osomere one. Then that way you can earn some sort of respect. I submit my
Mazima.
Maria, obadde
Kwegamba ofuna
tunabaddako.
good education ofuna respect si ekyo kati tujagala kati saawa eno respect nange njagala.
Buluma bukulu. Maria, obadde ogamba.
Batugamba read books are not important. Kati ate gwaki otuwabya?
Ani abagamba?
Ani agamba books are not important?
Gairia tukamusomye bulina kusoma tebigamba. Nengamba owaayi kansirike.
Paradise, so there was a very subtle consensus of the system needs to be paused.
Yeah, I think most people agree to that. Books are now.
It's a submission, but in Pandikano not see.
It needs to be paused. Then what? What happens after we pause it?
There's hope. I think that people have hope that when the system is paused, it's going to be cleaned up and it's going to operate smoothly. At least from the little that I heard, Ojichayo get there, until then things will be processed the right way. There won't be a long waiting time. There's that hope. Whether it's going to happen or not, Teria money. Naye, I think people are hopeful that once it gets cleaned up, it will operate a little more smoothly. Yeah. Then, of course, there is and I think for example, who brought it up, there's that bias where the rules are only changing for immigrants coming from third world countries versus anywhere else. Zenina bosi wange bulunda kwabera tujukiza mbu she's also an immigrant kwanga yava Canada. So ngagezako relating her to issues of other immigrants. It's hard for people to see her in that light. Because naturally you can't be seen that way. If you look Caucasian white, you can't be seen that way. Never said I'm going to get my dual citizenship. I'm going to, just in case I need options. So she can also feel like she's, she's relating to it. But it's a little bit not fair. Though I guess there are reasons as to why it's just a third world countries. And there's a party I said yakonye kuchana mlana kona ku, other things out there, and the crime rate doesn't help us either. So there is that. Well, where Gambia acceptance that the country, I think it was Mr. Olson, this is a country that has a lot of opportunities. And I remember my convincing point of moving here was because of the opportunities. So we can't deny that. So muntu ali Uganda wakuira ngogamba nti bapozinge agamba oli mulalu naga I need that opportunity, that you got, that's making life a bit simpler for you. Ne point I forget his name. You are the Harold,
I think, right?
A cultural acceptance says Sagitegede bulungi ne. I guess I need to listen in a little more. The intermarriages, and I wasn't getting how it was relating.
I have a summary for you if you'd like to hear it after.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
That one, I wrote it down. Cultural acceptance, integrate. I was getting it, nenga. Nga sichiraba. Newegezaako making a bigger fish nade sichiraba bulungi naye agendeddemu awo. Naye buli omuntu, I think we all in one way or the other think there needs to be a pause.
abadde tayagala bya okukkiriza abayimbi Uganda. I don't know.
I think Yeche Gambia, my short understanding of what he was saying. Nti abantu, and I'm only saying this in the Ugandan lens because I think that's what he focused on specifically when he was making this point. Nti abantu abatali inherently Ugandan, I'm putting that in air quotes even though I'm not on camera. Nti omuntu yajja Uganda nava mu sendala but nagano kwa assimilating either socially or culturally and whatnot. They become not disloyal, but their loyalty a better split in that when they work and become powerful, when their society grows, they will either discriminate against Ugandans or they won't care being corrupt towards Ugandans or not developing Uganda as a country. Kubanga babeda mu bubble. Even though they live in Uganda, babeda mu kababo, they don't consider themselves Ugandans, so they don't concern themselves with the bigger problems that Ugandans face. Let me just give an example of what he said. If someone from Somalia comes to Uganda as a refugee, later on becomes a president, because they refuse to assimilate, they still don't see themselves as a Ugandan, right? So nibatandika corruption, sente bazibba bazizza waabwe, nibakola laws or whatever, they're always going to favor people from where they came from or people within that bubble that they live in because they don't have those rules. They don't invest long term. I'm only repeating his words, by the way. They don't invest long term in Uganda because they never connected to it. So yeah, Abadaga much as he reduced it to mutureke tuwaseba kazi bamwe, in his eyes, it's something that become a bigger problem because these are people that are moving to a country but refusing to be part of that country. And when they do become successful, long story short, they become a threat.
But you see, I hear it, but I think that is a narrower. I think it cuts across in all countries and all it cuts across in all countries, all the different cultures. It could even be the same here. Never na Uganda we mujja mu Bulaya. Your first option is okufuna muna Uganda bunno. Sitcho? It's usually where you tend naturally. Now, it's every culture. I don't think it's inevitable in my eyes. I'm not saying it should be promoted. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but we know the challenges that come with intermarriages. We know it's there. Because we all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it, all different cultures do it. You just hope that someone is not so narrow-minded to use that bias to mislead people.
Yeah. And honestly, my take on that too, because I agree, bigger fish, that will always be my go-to. Yes, it's achievable, but is that the hill that we want to die on right now? I think that if Uganda were in a stronger economic and political position, Gaturina functioning institutions, we have reliable law enforcement, broad access to opportunity, and maybe the government was perceived as a fair and accountable institution. I think the current tensions around identity and immigrant communities would be very different. Yes, they would still be there, but they'd be different. Because culture differences and social separation, in that case, I'd like to imagine, would be more of like an ordinary diversity rather than a threat, because the problem right now is between economic scarcity and political distrust. So that amplifies fears that, people from this region, Bagenda taking it over and we'll have a repeat of Rwanda and we'll have, it's just survival of the fittest right now, that there's not enough resources, there's not enough trust, there's not enough political stability. Everything is much more amplified as it should be. Kubanga abantu balowooza, okay, certain groups are taking advantage and certain groups are not loyal. So if those pressures were to be reduced, I think the identity would become a bit less politicized, and it will also be less emotionally charged, and quite frankly, less likely to be weaponized. Because we have to remember that at the core of all of this, there are a bunch of few politicians that are just using us as pawns in their game. And Niko America kwengini, like the past 2-3 decades, we've seen how insane people running on hatred actually gets them where they want to be. So if people weren't coming in and saying, oh, but Uganda, when the Somalis come here, bagena twala maduka gamamona, because every Ugandan already had a duka, then that kind of reduces the leverage that those politicians have to use to spread this hatred. So that I was going with maybe if we fix the bigger problems slowly by slowly, these seemingly big problems will erode little by little, and we'll look at them differently. Kubanga singa buli omu Uganda yali alina omulimu, singa buli omu yali alina trust in the government, proper infrastructure, kati omusomali obutampasa, you know what I mean, like that wouldn't be that much of an issue. It would be there, but it would be like omusomali aganye. I'm like, okay, but you don't need like, yeah, it would still be a problem, but it wouldn't be this magnified. So it goes back to my take, and I think Mr. Awesome mentioned it too. Tutereze biri ebinene and little by little
actually ofo nga tonamaliza njagala yongere maaso naye kali eno kenyendo okugattako kyekiri nti Omumerika ye tatya mufirika kujja wano kuba amanyi togenda kukola sente zakola just like that in a, like Bob aliko mukolera ddala sente era naye kati
tuddeyo ku mulamwa
naye nga kyega kituufu system gena it was really nice singa buli omu yali ali bulungi.
You're definitely right on that one. Muizagambe of trust in the government as fuel to spread hate. Naimumani, I know this is coming up like it's correlating to the shooting. Nenge no planning at your JD. Just because Katituina, we are attaching it to a recent situation. But this was already the plan. I'm sure it was even already in the works.
Oh, yeah.
So it is that trust that Mweza is talking about. That trust is dying out.
Yeah. And honestly, also one thing, if I could reduce it to media literacy, which it sounds like Fenabali Wanolero Tujirina, right? Is just why certain things are happening and why they're happening now and who truly benefits from it. Kubanga, a few years ago, Omwane, Texas, we have got like 3 hours. Na agenda mu Walmart yalimu abaspana na emptinga emundu ye, I don't want to say these words in English, but na emptinga clip na tabantu in a Walmart. This is the kind of quick action that we would have wanted to see then, right? We're twirling a shooting Uvalde abana bebatta mu ssomero, police neyimirira wabweru nga gunman ali munda atta abaana nga bapolice bayimiridde outside, parents crying, begging them to go inside and do something. This is the kind of quick action that would have been nice to see. Nti omukulembeze yagenda ku Twitter enkeera n'agamba omanyi nkoze kino na kino na kino to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I think much as most people do agree that yes, mugalewo ekikomera mugalewo biki tutereze system, to Maria's point, whether that's actually what's going to happen or not is a different story, but there's also need for analyzing why certain things get quicker actions and others don't, right? One thing we know about America as a country is they're very, well, until last year, but we're supposed to be a country where things just don't happen because someone snapped a finger. Ebintu bino kuyita mu mutendera, right? So when you notice things like this happening at a snap of a finger, but only on very specific incidents that just so happen to happen at the right time in the right place, you probably need to ask yourself if action X is actually going to lead to action Y. Nti yes, omuntu yavuze abatabera mu America, Washington State ne Washington DC, Ovugirawo ennaku. Ovugirawo ennaku. It's not a journey that omanyi, not to get off track here, it's a kind of journey that oluvuga notuukayo nga obusungu bwakuweddeko dda because it's so far, like holding on to your anger nti ngenda genda nzita abantu, and you drive.
Is there any reason as to why yakikola?
That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, we don't know, right? We don't know right now. Tumanyi chibateeka mawulire, tumanyi chibali postinga ku social media zaabwe, fenga abantu. We don't know. Mind you, this is not the first incident. Wumbambade mulaba mawulire in the past few months. You know, this is not the first incident that was too convenient. But what I'm trying to get at here is, yes, much as we're hoping that okugalawo borders oku revamping a system bichi chigenda kutereza ebintu, I just want us to prepare for the possibility that it will not, because already n'abantu abalimu abantu bameka bemuwulidde abagenze ng'oli agenze just ku check-in ye eya bulijjo ng'alina work permit alina biki n'agendera ne bamusiba. So I just want to prepare for that. Like, just because we're hoping that's what happens doesn't mean it's what's going to happen. The signs are there.
It's for that same reason that I was not planning on contributing to this conversation, because I feel, near for paradise, I had to. Because I feel like there's worse that has happened that impacted me more. And I'm not saying to Banabantu about shootings that their lives don't matter, but this one has been blown out, changing things, trying to make it the reason as to why they're making this change. I'm like, man, this is how they get you. And this is just my perspective on things. Mm-hmm. This is how they get you to begin thinking in the way they want you to think, to begin saying that there be a pause, to be accepting. This is how they get you. Yet there are other situations where it was,
agreed,
more relatable and silent.
I agree.
Maria, you're right, Olava. They are capitalizing on this. Nenga, this is something chibali bayagala dokola. Ngabwe nagambyeko alya nti bano abasajja sibasiru. Everything they do is calculated. Everything they do is planned. And tebazuka buzukusi ne bakola bintu byabwe. Buli kimu baba bakirina obudde bwakyo. Kati n'ekintu bazze bakiraba dda nga baagala kikola.
Kakati, Gundi, it hasn't even been 5 months. There was an incident that recently happened. Oli agenda natta abantu then ne basanga amasasi nga agawandiiseeko ebigambo. That was laughable. I think Netflix could have written a better script than that. But to Maria's point, right? Woba olaba events ezibaddewo okuva last year nti media, historically speaking, people were supposed to look at media as a trusted source. Legacy media vakubine bya social media, but actual legacy media nti kyonna ekiba kigenda maaso mu ggwanga, at the very least we should get trusted information from the media. There's also an infamous saying nti if you can control the media, you can control the people. Kakati mulabye omuntu where blatantly but threatening media houses nti bwemutayogera kino tugenda basalako, bwemukola kino tugenda kukola kino. So you just have to question, like,
for that's so funny, because this morning, sorry to cut you short, but I don't want to forget. This morning we're listening to the news, and we noted that it was reported that the shooter was let into the country. They specifically mentioned during Biden. Like, they were very specific to mention it was during his time, but they left out the part that the approval happened during this
year, just a few months ago.
It was so curated that it mentioned one and not the other. I was like, that's why I said to make some shy.
Yeah, and very few people are sticking to the fact that this man worked for the CIA. Tebamuleta waneeno nga fembu yali adze kukola yali abakolera for years. And people, there was this, Google had a feature. I put on my tinfoil hat right now before I make this statement. But Google had a feature, I think as of yesterday, where both searching each into, you can see how many times that thing has been searched and from what location. And of course, Reddit bros have been going crazy because that guy's name has been searched like 30 times in the Washington, D.C. area in the past 6 months, which would make no sense because he was a nobody. He didn't live there. There would be no reason for most of this information to be looked up. But anyway, not to go full on conspiracy, but I think it's important that we're careful about what we consume right now. And if you find yourself leaning more towards a certain opinion, probably question why. What are you reading lately that's causing you to think that way? Or information yojijawa. Unfortunately, there are very few trusted sources, but bitandi kampola. Once you make it normal for people to think, buli wetuwulira nti waliwo eyassa omuntu tulowooza ku bagwira abava mu certain parts of the world specifically nti mulaba ekyaliwo mu covid buli wetulowooza ku bulwadde tulowooza kuba China. Like, just seemingly small things like that have shaped generations of laws and have created international incidents. So, just my 2 cents into yes, fine, to Galeo, which I'm not agreeing with, but just be careful on what the consequences of that would look like, because it's always concerning when action is just being spat out completely. It's like people were waiting to press a button, like hit send, after a certain incident happened. Nayenga ebintu affecting abana, kids that are being killed in school shootings, they're still dragging on, right? Sandy Hook should have only happened once and not again. And every week, Trina Echipia. In fact, Mwalabye, the burning fire with the skyscraper that just happened recently, Mu, Japan.
So I don't know much about it.
So there was a high-rise building. Fire spread out, people died. It was
I saw that. I saw that on the news, like 3 buildings, skyscrapers, like
Do you
little
know
Guakutte.
that their anti-corruption unit made arrests the next day? Was it the next day or 2 days after the fact? They did a full-blown investigation, never finding out tobacco is a slightly cheaper material than what was required. Never basibirao, and they're already facing the law. That's in a perfect society where people or systems claim to care for their citizens. I feel like that's what should be happening. Come on. If something that devastating happens, that shooting in Texas will always stay with me. Just seeing those parents, ne police nga bayimiridde wabweru a classroom, nga amasasi galimu going on in the building, begging them to take action. No tweets the next day, no nothing, no blaming it on Biden, no nothing, no immigrants, no talk about mental health, no talk about gun control, nothing at all, right?
Crazy.
Or when, what's her name in Minnesota, the Democrat lady and her husband, same story, none of that, right? But somehow, only specific incidents get that quick action. I'm just saying, just my 2 cents.
OJ, what are you referring to?
Can we also talk about the other possible resolution from this shooting?
OJ,
what do you mean by that?
Soko vemu otangaze solution nchenda leo je tutamanyi. Hi Sheila, good to see you. Kulabye OJ. Ageze mukachaya like
so by tukolera live.
My mic wasn't unmuting. But then my brothers anti I don't watch news so abala mawulire mutugambeko, because I had also another perspective nti wali ogambye okuggalawo, right? Nti bagambye maybe baholtinge naye ate waliwo n'okufulumya nti nakyo bagenda kiteekamu amaanyi bali ab'omuzira ababbalaafu tibagenda kukipika bafulumya abantu. Is that something that you've heard about or what?
Okufulumya abantu
happening.
No, like now they are going to like put it on another level. But they are apparently right now abantu already ababadde be babadde
Alex
bategese
nsanyusa okulaba.
is a group ebadde eri ready okukola ki okukola kweyo operation kati nga beetaaga okugijustify or something like that. So I don't know what you've heard eyo gye muyitira. If something like that is being mentioned, twekweke wansi w'ebitanda tukole tutya?
So hi setters. So here's my take. Bw'oba tozangako omusango, you're probably safe. That's my assumption. I could be wrong. I think people that should be concerned nga wali wazizaako omusango. I don't know, because even the enforcement is really expensive. Oshitegeera. It's very expensive. So I don't know. Sijja kugamba nti manyi, but I think we are going to be okay. For now. I can't guarantee it. I'm not saying, but if I had to guess, I think we're going to be okay. It's just this whole, like, the whole immigration thing. Honestly, it's a tough one, because obviously if you're not enough friends and family members and people that want to come in, people that are already here, people that are already betwateramu, we submitted, they're in the process, and our bias just gets the best of us. Tugamba omanyi musooke muleka abaffe mutandikira awe. It's like soko ingiza abaffe, then amateeka gatandika after bo. But at the end of the day, you realize that it's, this is a country, these are decisions z'abantu bangi. Like, it's not just you or your family or bagwa abantu boyagala. It affects so many people. Mulimu budgets involved, mulimu safety involved. So at the end of the day, I don't have the answer, but I think if you're someone atakulangako misango, I would like to think you're going to be safe. Hayo murungi. Guys, n'olw'ensonga eyo njagala kubeebaza mwenna abagyekuumiddeko saawa zeezo. Mbadde ngamba ani ategedde nti saawa zeezo amangu ago. Yes, njagala kubeebaza mwenna abagyekuumiddeko. Thank you guys so much for your participation. Mwenna ababaddeko. Picked out. I don't know about that. Mwenna abagyekuumiddeko, thank you so much for always supporting and coming here and sharing amagezi. As you guys can see, live zange zigenda kuddayo mu 2023 mode. We're going to have topics just twogere ku bintu, things that are going on in the world.
Remember 2023?
Tewajjangako ku live. You remember 2023? Kind of like a bit more structured.
I've only been active on TikTok this year.
Okay. Yeah, so a bit more structured. We'll come back. We'll bring also up industry professionals. We'll talk about, obviously, the conversations about love, marriages. We'll talk about finance. Maria, don't make talk on her face. Tujja kwogera ku finance, investing, obviously Maria byalava bitya. Tujja kwogera ku nsonga za investing here in Uganda. We also have the conversations on raising kids today. Maria, you mentioned, you shared an article. Kids today, there's a huge increase in ADHD, how that affects our kids. Tujja kwogera ku, of course, all the topics ngabo tuze tukola, but unless there's someone that wants to say something, I am going to close the live. However, I have a public WhatsApp number on my TikTok. Osobola okunsindikira message if you have an idea, if you are a professional in something, you have life experience somewhere, contribution that you would like to make, osobola okugenda ahead n'okolachi nonsindikira message. But other than that, thank you so much. Mwenna abagyekuumiddeko. I will would you like to say something before we close?
I was going to thank you for the platform, but didn't do. okuchalirako, and this was a very pleasant welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for the platform.
Okay. OJ, one last word.
I did have a last word, and I just wanted to send it. First of all, kujja wano netwogera like ebintu ebitukoza as a community, as a collective. Naye one thing that I've realized or that I've come to understand is the truth is the world is never going to be fair. And bw'obeerawo nga buli ssaawa, of course ffenna twagala social justice, that's very important.
Yeah.
But at some point olina okutuuka n'olekera like newejja mu the collective, and then you fight for yourself, right? Kwegamba notabeera so stuck in tebatwagala, batuwalana, batusosola, biki n'ogamba kale eno ye system bweti bweri kati nze nga nze mpiseewa. Once you're able to do that, then kisobola okwanguyirako okuva mu eno gundi gy'obadde okaayanira, gy'obadde olwanirira, ate okugenda mu eri level endala, because you know that's what serves you. And I think that then you can be able to be more impactful even for the other people that you were fighting for. Nayenga, other than that, tweyanziza New Paradise. Have you are you going to have a schedule now, or
I am going to try to come up with a schedule, which I'll communicate. When banfunye omuntu oba topic, I'll communicate. Mujja kumanya before, ahead of time.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Of course, njagala bajjukiza, I have a shop. Thank you so much, Crane Cargo. I have a shop here. If you'd like to support my account, you want to buy some merchandise away Uganda, or merchandise that's faith-based, merchandise away Uganda and all that, you can go to my shop website or take a call to www.paradiseug.shop. Of course, in our shipping ebintu nga bigenda Uganda, kozesa Crane Cargo, www.cranecargo.com, oba bakubire ku simu yaabwe 781-288-2048, okozese discount code Paradise basobole okukuwa ka discount code. Ate namwe abagende Uganda, you need a car, joyagala okuvugamu, oba weetaaga driver, musobola okukozesa company yaffe Top Notch Tours and Travel. Era nabo osobola okuyitira mu nze, tuba tujja kutuusaako emmotoka yonna gy'oyagala mu Kampala, ng'oyagala kwevuga oba ng'oyagala driver, emmotoka zonna weeziri. Thank you guys so much for watching. Abali ku YouTube, thank you for subscribing. Atana subscribing agenda ku Paradise UG on YouTube. Osobola subscribing. There's more content there. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.